You are welcome. And for those of you who are on the replay, please know that we always go back and check the comments. So if you have any questions that come up during this, while you're watching later, drop them in the comments and we will definitely get to your questions. And for those of you who are just rolling in, please do drop comments. You're part of this conversation and an important part of it to boot. I am Ann Murphy. I'm one of the co-founders of Light Magic AI, and I'm going to facilitate a conversation today about meeting follow-up. So there's lots of conversation out there in the world about meetings and whether meetings are worth it, right? I just had a conversation with somebody this morning about how we should abolish all meetings. I don't feel that way, but what I do feel like is making meetings really matter is critical, and that the most important piece for me in that is the follow-up. Because sometimes we feel like the work is getting to the meeting. But by planning ahead and having AI solutions and automations, we can make sure that the work that we do in that meeting, that gold, right, that research that you're bringing back from the field, that it can be operationalized afterward. So we're going to talk about actually two different approaches to meeting follow-up. And the goal in what we do is to give you all really practical applications of AI solutions, knowing that it's not just about dropping it in there. It's not just about dropping a solution in there, but it's about the downstream effects as well. And we will touch on that as we talk about our use cases. I want to hand it over to my colleagues to introduce themselves, and then we'll dive in with an example of how we do meeting follow-up. So, hey Hunter, how you doing?
I'm good. Hi, Ann. Hi, LinkedIn land and all the places that this is being streamed to. My name is Hunter. My pronouns are he, they, and I'm also blessed to be one of the 6 co-founders. You have 3 of us here, 3 of the 6 of Light Magic AI. And I am going to be, for our live folks, I'll be firing up the chat with you. So if you're asking questions there on LinkedIn, I will be responding. And yeah, I mean, I'm very excited about this topic. We're going to show you some demos, and I use some of these skills, but I'm also, every time I talk to these people, I learn something. So I'm going to learn something on this call too.
Same. And Tyler Fisk, how about you?
Hello. I'm glad to be here. Tyler Fisk, one of the co-founders of Light Magic as well. And this is fun for me because this is like where we actually just get to do show and tell of some of the ways that we use AI in a really just low-key type way that's easy, practical, and applicable. And like I personally use what we're going to talk about both in Zoom calls like this all the time, literally every day, and then also for like in-person meetings. So yeah, I'm excited to dig in. So Ann, are you kicking us off with the first use case, or like how you're using it?
Either way, I would love to hear you first, because I want to be thinking about how I can use my example for in-person meetings as well, which I haven't really been doing. Well, I've done, let me rephrase. I've done a couple, but without asking for permission, which is not copacetic and not what I want to keep doing. So I want to hear how you're brokering that with people. Like turning my phone recorder on.
I love it. Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, I definitely asked for that. It's usually not a problem. I've never had anyone object. I guess I'll say it like that. Because the way I explain it is that, hey, is it cool with you if we just record our meeting? So that way I can stay completely present in our conversation. Because otherwise I'm going to be like frantically like scribbling down notes to make sure I don't miss anything that I need to remember later. And then I just will record it. Generally, just to avoid any sort of issues, I've started just using like the voice memo app, like on my iPhone, or same thing on if you have Android. But yeah, just hit record, and then after the fact, I'll throw it into any one of the like numerous apps that we have to transcribe that. So that could be, I mean, Respell or just straight through Whisper in the Playground and API if you have that. You can even chuck it into Descript. If you can even do it in Loom. Like you can even just like upload that recording into Loom after the fact, and it will transcribe it. If you have I think you have to have the AI version of that. But anyway, lots of ways to do that. Then once you get that transcription, that's where the gold is, because I have perfect and total recall of everything that we've said, which in real life, I absolutely do not have that. I've got ADHD and I'm listening to the conversation going on, plus my thoughts going on in my head. And I'm sure that you all can relate to that. And it's just, this has really helped me write very thoughtful responses and next steps and follow through on a lot of the things that were actually discussed in a meeting, and just help people, myself, articulate more so that people feel more seen and heard in the meetings, where otherwise I might not be able to do that. So there are ways you could definitely fully automate this process, but I personally don't. And Ann and I and Hunter were talking about this before we jumped on the live, is like, I think all of us just basically do this kind of co-piloted. We just use AI as our co-creator on this. And I might set it up more so that the draft lands into my inbox, so then I can like pick up from that. But I don't know. I'm constantly experimenting with this, but I have not found a prompt that like fully captures the personal touch that I need to put into the follow-up email. So
Hey, Tyler, before we go to the next step, I wanted to kind of riff off of the difference between taking notes and recording, because I have had a few conversations about this that have really really inspired me on the path of recording meetings. Because when you think about it, right, there's research out there that says that multitasking isn't possible. Well, for sure, I know that it takes me out of the present moment if I'm taking notes. There's that. So it's my own groundedness. For me, it's the fact that I often can't decipher my notes very well afterward. Even if I can read the words, I don't exactly remember what I meant in the context. Like, it still takes some brain calories to remember, like, what was that sentence? You don't capture body language. You don't capture inflection. And then also, I feel like there's an element of, it's kind of like it closes things off, right? Like, I know that when we're recording a meeting, some people will feel like I have to turn my recorder off sometimes so we can have a very frank, open, drop your shoulders conversation. But when I'm like in a first meeting with a donor and I need to start taking notes, I have to stop the conversation, say, is it okay if I take notes? Right? Then I'm taking notes. So I'm not making eye contact. I'm like, so I think this is like yet another unintended benefit of using a recorder, is that you can really be present and not at all closed off. You don't break the connection with the person, which is something I never thought of until I started using these tools. Never thought of it, but this is better, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember sitting in like our team leadership meetings and some of the previous like organizations that I've been in, and everyone is so just distracted and disconnected because they're either writing their notes or they're on their devices, like doing like they're not in the meeting, right? Like, so this for me really helps bring everyone into it. And once you kind of like coach folks along and what that could be like, it's really helpful. Like I have a transcript from a meeting that I have chucked in here in Claude that I'll get to here in a minute, that basically it was an in-person meeting between myself, one of my friends who's a real estate broker in town, and another real estate agent. And we were doing a talk. We were having a pre-meeting meet about a talk that we were going to do about AI for like a realtor roundtable deal. And they even were saying, it was telling them like, oh, I need to remember to do this in preparation for this roundtable thing. And I'm like, just vocalize that and then watch the magic happen afterwards. Because she was like, I need to remember to tell XYZ that we need to have this in place for the round table. So all the things are there. And then after the meeting was done and I did the summary and action items and stuff out of it and was able to personalize and send that to each of them and then give myself my own of that,
Mm.
light bulb moment. And they're like, oh my God, we're doing all of our meetings now. So
Absolutely.
I struggle with that
What I
myself.
also love about that, Tyler, when you were saying earlier about just using the voice memos, because that's something that right now I feel like is a nice bridge for people if you're going to record the meeting without having to get into like, oh, I use all these AI things, and then you're like talking about that. But if you're just recording a voice note, everybody knows what that is. You can say it's for my notes.
Yep.
And we're good, you know.
Yeah.
If it's not relevant to the conversation and they're comfortable with that, I think that's great.
Me too. Easy low bar of entry because they already know what that tool is. And voice recorder does not sound AI. It sounds very tape recorder-ish.
Right. Even though it transcribes it now, I think it does. I think it added it.
Yeah. Yeah, they
Tyler,
can do
you wanna? Oh, so by the way, everybody, while we go through this, we're going to be introducing you to a couple of different tools, and Tyler's going to kick us off with an app called AudioPen.
Yeah. So AudioPen, let me share this. So this is a perfect example for what you can do. Let me make sure I'm sharing the right screen here and get that pulled up. Here's Infinity screen and then AudioPen. All right. Can everyone see this now? Like, are we on AudioPen now? There's probably gonna be a little bit of lag there.
We are now we're in AudioPen. There we go.
Cool.
Yes.
All right, sweet. So I can't see you guys, but I can see AudioPen. So basically, this is like perfect for those moments when I'm just like jotting down, vocally brain dumping anything. So this could be an idea that I'm brainstorming, something that I need to remember, content that I need to remember for a meeting for later. This could be the perfect instance as an example of how I use this too, is I'll get out of a meeting that we didn't record or didn't want to record. And I need to quickly, instead of writing it down, because I still might not have taken notes, but I'm just like mentally making notes of this stuff. So as soon as the meeting's over with, I'll find like a 5-minute window to step away and just speak into AudioPen. And I have automations downstream of AudioPen that will grab that information and go put it into my second brain system in Notion, which is incredibly powerful on what you can do with that. So this is both a web app and an iPhone app, and I think it can be used on Android. Do you guys know on that specifically? I'm not sure.
I don't know. I use it on my iPhone.
Okay. But basically, I don't want to hit record because it will most likely cause like issues with the stream or whatnot, but you just simply hit record. You tell it what style that you're wanting to go into, and then it will do that. So let me see if I can find one here. Here's one right here. So basically, this is the summary that it generated after a full-length transcript. I can then come in and tag it, and up here, you can choose all these different settings. So in the settings, you can choose different writing styles.
Mm-hmm.
And they have all different ones, like simple and clear, be descriptive, write this in legal language, write out a bulleted list. You can have it actually write like you, which is where you're either giving it a voice paragraph that describes how you write, or you just put samples of your writing in here and it will do that. I like this one a lot. Anna and I were talking about this. It's stream of consciousness, because that's how I'm basically brain dumping into the app, is a stream of consciousness. So it captures the essence of that, but makes it way easier to comprehend for whoever I'm sending it to downstream, or when I'm like revisiting it later. You can even have it turn it straight to a LinkedIn post, technical writing. I mean, literally there's a bunch of just like baked in settings in here, and you can even create your own. And the power is like, once you do something, you can rewrite it. So like if you want to rewrite it to choose a longer, medium length, or shorter output length, you can change the language, all of the things. And then it even captures the original transcription as well. So you're not losing what you talked about like verbatim. You have that still, and you have the updated style and tone. So for instance, just to riff on this one, let's switch it over to, this is not a list, but let's just see what it does. So save a copy and rewrite, and it will run this. Because what is this? This is a note about, looks like maybe a LinkedIn post that I was brainstorming on how to get that out, talking about like how we use AI for I don't know, maybe your workflows. But I know, Hunter, have you used AudioPen? And I think you have too. Like, what have been your experiences with it while this is running?
Oh yeah, I love it. I love because it's a web app. So there it goes.
Yeah.
And yeah, look at that. Now you have a list format of your ideas. Yeah, I love the rewrite feature so much. So I can experiment with different styles from one thing because sometimes I'm riffing about a creative idea, or
Mhm.
maybe I want it to then help me, like if I'm like brainstorming of something creative versus, oh, how can I make this a little more action driven, or translate it to somebody else as opposed to the way I like to hear things. So it is
Mm.
kind of like translating in English to different kinds of English at times.
Yeah.
Yes, from English to different types of English. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, so like this right here was us talking about Friday session, I think, about like getting together with our chill hang on Fridays where we just talk all things
Nice.
AI with anyone that's interested in it. And it just breaks this down. So I could have had this and it basically could be a meeting summary or bullet points for us to have talking points during the meeting. So this is more of like, could be pre-meeting use case. I've also used this on the back end, like I said, where I'll record notes that I just, with a meeting that I just got out of, if I wasn't recording it, just to get that down somewhere so it captures it perfectly. Then you can do all sorts of stuff with it. So let me switch back over here and I'll turn my share off on that one.
Okay, that's awesome, Tyler. I
Yeah.
love the tools that allow us to customize what we're doing. You know what I mean? Okay, so let's see here. How do I? Okay, I've got my screen share. I'm gonna put it in the. Do I put it like in the corner? Here, I put it here. Sorry, everybody. Chrome tab. Who knows? It's now just not responding. Okay, hold on. I have to speak my way through this. Okay, entire screen, window. Here we go. Let's see. This is going to be fun. So while I pull this up, let me say that like this prompt is an example of like how you really need to work with the AI tools iteratively, because I've been working on these prompts for ages. It's one of the first things that I did because it's such a huge pain point. So basically what I've been able to do by perfecting this prompt over time is, can you guys see that on my screen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's showing up now. Yep.
Okay, cool. So what I've been able to do over time is take a process that takes at minimum 40 minutes for fundraisers down to, I've challenged myself, I can get it down to 7 minutes. And I've been able to send people follow-up notes to our meetings that fast, which is truly mind-blowing because so much thought and effort goes into creating these. It's a contact report. So I will walk you through the process first, and I'll grab my prompts so you can see how I organize my information for prompts. It's not perfect, but also it doesn't need to be perfect. Really cool about this work is like perfectionism is just not necessary at all. Okay, I'm opening up my prompts document. It's taking a second. Oh, maybe it's not going to. Do you think it won't open because I have, oh, there we go. So this is my prospect meeting follow-up. And what I do is generally when I'm working with one of my prompts, I appear to write notes to myself about how it's working, but in this document for so many months and like so frequently that I just didn't put notes. But here's how I use it. So after a meeting or a sales meeting, I speak my notes into ChatGPT or Bing or AudioPen or whatever. And the benefit of this for me is that one of the things that all of us fundraisers struggle with is that after a meeting, we have this like writing exercise where you're creating a contact report that's going into the CRM that's going to be there forever. And that's actually a huge piece of our work product. So our goal is to make this as easy as possible by allowing us to verbalize after the meeting. And I'm fortunate because I remember the details if I'm not taking notes. If I'm not taking notes and I can listen, like with 2 ears, 1 mouth, I am able to remember almost all details. So I speak that in, and keep in mind as a reminder, no, we don't put confidential information into any of the large language models at this point. And I just use pseudonyms. So I don't really put any proper nouns in. So like in this case, it's Minnie Mouse and Disneyland. So what I would do is I'm just going to like plow through this use case. So I would take these notes where I talk about, a potential contract. I talk about the purpose of a potential gift. I talk about we're talking about a scholarship program for kids who are interested in engineering and they want to learn from Disneyland about how roller coasters work. So I'm just going to show you what I do with ChatGPT. So I would start by putting this is all the things that I said. When you talk into ChatGPT or Bing or AudioPen, it just translates it to text if you tell it to. So I've got the meeting notes in there. Now I'm saying, you are an expert in sales operations, which is the same thing as working with donors. And I have asked it so that I never have to think about, am I covering the most important points in my contact report? It's here, right? It's assets, how they make decisions, what are their pain points, what are their hopes and dreams, what's their relationship with the organization, what's their timeline, what's their next step. This is everything that we would need from like a fundraising perspective in order for, like, let's say we got run over by a bus, our colleagues would have this. And by the way, there's no way that we will remember this if we have a portfolio of 120 people. So I am going to say, I'm going to just I'm just going to paste this prompt. You are an expert in sales operations. I need your help following prospect meeting. Okay. Need you to summarize the notes below. So every once in a while, when you hop into your prompts, you're going to find that you've got ways that you can improve it. And then I'm going to say, here are the notes. And one of the things I've done here is in my prompt, I've said, give me multiple potential titles for the contact report. Because like for the fundraisers out there, the kiss of death is some kind of title like went to lunch, right? Because you're going to go back and you're going to be trying to write a briefing for the president or the executive director, and you're going to see all these contact reports that say went to lunch, which is not very helpful. Title options: Disneyland Enterprises collaboration, STEM and hospitality program development, timeline and prospects. Okay, that is a really, really good title. Gives us all the information we need to know, do I need to click into this contact report? So here we're saying, what's Minnie's, what are we talking about? How soon? What's the timeline for signing a contract? What are the assets? So in this case, it's just cash. They've got money to spend on this fundraising project. Decision-making involves multiple stakeholders, timeline, next steps, okay? You get the gist. So this would be, after like 25 years of refining contact reports, probably writing, I don't know how many thousands of them, this is what I landed on. It's an actual, it's a format that I always use for every single contact report that includes all the details that we need. So now I was able to have AI do it. So now here's what we're going to do. Now we've got the nice, neat, clean, and organized contact report. This is my follow-up email format. And this is where we're always going to think of that human in the loop component. And in this case, like fundraisers would think of themselves, and I'm trying to wrap up fast here. Fundraisers would think of themselves really as the expert in the loop. So only you and your colleagues who are also fundraisers have the expertise to know, is this a really good email? So I'm going to enter this text. Okay, I need your copywriting expertise to help me write an email to follow up this prospect meeting. Here is the template for the email draft. So again, sometimes you put notes to yourself. Thank you for our time together, recipient's name, collaborative possibilities. Okay, so now we're going to say, I need your copywriting expertise to help me write an email. Use this template. Here's the template. I'm going to say, based on the, Tyler, would you, if you were doing this, would you say based on the contact report above, or would you put the contact report into this request?
You could say above. It would know that because
Okay.
the context window on GPT-4 right now is still big enough to like capture all of that. But depending on
Okay.
if it was like much longer, then you could copy and paste it and put it in triple backticks and include it in
Yeah.
that section. And when I say triple backticks, I mean the key in the upper left-hand corner, like right underneath the escape key, like you do 1, 2, 3 at the beginning of the thing that you want to wrap in it, and then put it at the end. And that's basically like sectioning that off if you want to go that route.
Perfect.
I wanted to chime in too on one other thing, like 100%. If you're using ChatGPT, do not put in like personally identifiable information or confidential information into that. The way that we're able to do that, like through AudioPen or through some of the stuff that we build for ourselves custom, is because we're running through the API layer, which is like the back end version of what powers ChatGPT, and or the enterprise version of that. So the security layer is there. Not saying that ChatGPT isn't secure. It can just be used for training data unless you have that ticked off. So yeah.
So what I wanted to share at this point is that, of course, we are going to go in and edit this email. That said, 95% of fundraiser follow-up messages to a prospect is going to be most effective if it's in approximately this tone, approximately this format. So while we would want to make some changes, I've optimized this for conversions and for next steps. So for example, I wanted to follow up with a resource we discussed. So in almost every meeting, we're going to be providing some extra value, right? And in this case, it says insights into successful STEM education programs, blah, blah, blah. Of course, I would provide something like that. Because in my meeting notes, it said that Minnie wanted to have some of my help evaluating this program before she went to other potential consultants. So here are our next steps that I took away, right? These are the approximately correct next steps. Excited about working together. And then like, here's the phrase that pays. Could you indicate when and how you'd prefer me to follow up? So the reason why this is magical to me is for years, I've been challenged with prospects ghosting after meetings. And everyone tells me that that's like, it's so bad for morale, right? This is one way that you can help keep the momentum going. And this way, I never forget to put it in there. So what's important is like, when we think about AI use cases, it's not just about speed. Yeah, speed is a differentiator, but it's also about quality, right? It's about scalability, consistency. And if you're doing this, right, across your whole entire portfolio, right? Think about if you have 100 meetings a year and you've actually determined from people how they want to follow up. Now you're moving those gift relationships forward faster. So then I just finished this off with, could you please send me a checklist of my own next steps? And it'll just tell me what I need to do. And in some cases, like if you're in an organization, you may be forwarding that to an admin, you may be doing this yourself. Like as a small business owner, I can send this to my team. But rather than me writing that contact report and then 3 or 4 days later having to go back to the contact report to remember my next steps, they're all here. So the goal, if you repeat this over the course of an entire year, you're going to move gift conversations forward faster, and you're going to do it spending fewer brain calories. Okay, that's it.
That's awesome. Like, and the things that you can add to this to make it even more is the more context that you can give the LLM about you and the conversation that you're having.
Yeah.
Just makes this so much more powerful. So, for instance, I was talking about how I use Notion as a second brain.
Yeah.
I also have a bunch of stuff in my Google Drive that has like a bunch of transcripts, like documents I've created, like information about stuff that we've been working on. And there's a couple different apps that we're working with now that can actually pull in that information as additional as additional context around this. So for instance, I'm not just talking like hypothetical with this meeting that I was talking about for Amber and Joe for the real estate conversation. It could not only go read the complete transcript of that meeting, it can also search through my entire knowledge base for keywords discussed in that meeting. So for instance, if I said, hey, you guys should really check out this app, or you should check out the AI Exchange, or check out this latest LinkedIn post that I saw from somewhere. If I have that saved somewhere in my knowledge base where I've dumped it into Notion, dumped it into Google Drive, whatever, it can actually go and grab that from my knowledge base, put that into the follow-up email. And so I don't even have to go do that anymore. Like, it just does it for me, which is wild. Like, so it automates that part of it. And then I'm just going back and sprinkling in my charm or touch or whatever it is to make the email sound like me. But it goes and gets all the things for me that I needed to do that takes forever. Like what you're talking about with your follow-up email.
Yeah. Well, and this bumps up against, and Hunter, you might have some examples of this. This exact use case bumps up against a whole bunch of limiting beliefs with AI. It bumps up against, can we put information at all, right, into the thing? Will I make a mistake and put personally identifying information in there, right? What else? Oh, can it write like me? Can it somehow magically figure out what I agreed to as next steps and write it properly? Can it use my brand voice? Or can it go out into the world and bring in more information? Like, it speaks to some of the concerns about, like, is it creepy? Is it high quality? Is it personalized? Is there data security? So it's like, this is a use case that we sold, to everybody here. We're selling you on this use case because we believe so strongly in follow-up and making it high quality, but we do know that it bumps up against these fears around AI. And Hunter, do you have examples? Like, you've been in conversation with people from all sorts of industries, including the arts. I'm wondering what the trends are like there.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think in the arts, there's still hesitancy. I'm noticing that there might be, and I think this is in a lot of industries, that it's going to replace people. And for me, as an artist, as a performer, as a writer, I find it very helpful with research and being clear and concise, I have a tendency to sort of go on sometimes. It can help me pare down my own ideas so
Ooh,
I'm not overwhelming the reader potentially. Maybe it's after an email follow up. Maybe it's a story idea that I'm trying to get to the point,
yeah,
and this can help me crystallize it. But they're
yeah,
still my ideas, you know. It's just a refined, sharpened
yeah,
version of my ideas.
yeah,
And if it
yeah,
can sound like me, us, or human, or our
yeah,
brand or not, I mean, the three of us know, yes, the answer is yes.
yeah.
And it's always good to, but it's not going to do that on its own, right?
No.
You know, it's not going
No,
to
it's
sound
not
like you
magic.
by it's not, yeah, it's not magic, even though we like to, you know, talk about it in that way sometimes, because the experience of it happening is magical,
Oh,
right?
so
But
good. Such a good point.
the way it's happening is you're training it to sound like you. You know, we are training it, like as Tyler pointed out with AudioPen, you can give it a sample of your writing and then it can mathematically figure out what that sample breaks down to. And these, you know, these machines are just really good next word predictors.
Yep.
That's what they're very, very good at. And if you give them patterns, they can emulate it. And then, like Tyler said, you want to put in your own personality, charm, rewrite it, and not just automate the whole thing, because it's a tool. It's not your voice.
Absolutely. And like this example, I trained it on like generic development officer voice. So like I took my successful emails and removed my warmth because it's not for everybody and put it in more dispassionate kind of business language so that then other people could come on top of that. And if they like to use a lot of exclamation points or be a little quirky or witty, they want to make it, you know, dependent on the other person's personality, what words they use to describe themselves, like so helpful. And I guess the point that I want to make on the way out here is that it's it's so incredibly hi boo boo. I have a little 4-pound dog or 5-pound now too. The big ones, I don't get to call them boo boo because they're 100 pounds and 50 pounds. So, but how customizable it is. So, like the fact that there's no one size fits all, and there's always going to be a human in the loop, and it's always, you know, it always can be trained on your voice. Like Josh on our team says, if you can dream it, we can build it. And sometimes you don't even need to dream it because the machines will kind of draw you along. And that follow-up that's where the treasure is. And you've created so much gold in that meeting that now you get to honor that work that you've done and that the other person's time, and you get to demonstrate not just like that you're competent and responsive, but also that you care for the person. You've taken the time to do something lovely in a timely fashion. And I just think it makes you kind of the go-to collaborator more so than other people. Maybe, possibly, I don't know, could be.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Any
And like,
thoughts?
to,
Yeah,
to your point, just like in closing of how you were saying that the template that you were using, you had kind of made it more just neutral tone. Like I have that on some of my templates that I use too, but depending on who I'm sending that email to, like Claude or ChatGPT or whatever I'm using doesn't know my relationship with that person. So that's where like the additional context that you can pull in from some of these apps, or just tell it, like it'll write the initial follow up, because I've tried all of the different bots that you can add into the meetings, like Fireflies and Sybil and Otter and like you name it, I've tried it, and they're really good, but they don't know my relationship with the folks. And
yeah,
so I'll have it like rewrite it in a friendlier, like semi-professional, more casual tone, because I'll be like, hey, this is going to Hunter. Like he's my buddy. We've been friends for yada, yada, yada. Here's some information. Like, don't sound like such a stiff, like versus if I'm,
yes,
you know, yeah. And
yeah,
I actually say stuff like that a bunch.
yes, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure.
Because it
Awesome.
will take that into understanding and then rewrite it in that way. So
Yeah.
Right. Well, and tomorrow we're going to get even more into this, aren't we, Anne?
We are. I was just going to ask you to tell the people where to find us next.
Absolutely. See, we're on the same wavelength. Beep, 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 beep. So tomorrow, friends, which will be Wednesday, December 13th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can join us on LinkedIn Live and all of the things. They'll be streaming out on my page, I believe on our YouTube channel, various Twitters among the group, and TikToks and all the things. But join us here on LinkedIn Live is a good meeting spot hub. But wherever you make your comments, this nifty platform brings them all into one place so we can see it all in one unified place. We love your participation. So that's tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, where we're doing a deeper dive, an hour long of meetings, reimagined, the AI role in effective collaboration. So I'm looking forward to that.
And then Thursday we have another applied session, and then on Friday we have our casual hangout. So we've got lots of opportunities for people to engage with us. And if you have any questions, just slide into our DMs, because we're happy to hear from you. We're here for our community, really.
Yeah.
We have to
And the
spend time
Friday,
with each other, but
yeah.
yeah.
The Friday ones are really shaping out quite nicely. It's because that's where anyone can turn on their camera and join the conversation, and we're hanging out. It's bites and banter. We have coffee, we have pastries, BYOP. Bring your own pastries, though.
It's fun. You never know who's going to pop in. We had, I think Lars was his name, that he joined from the Netherlands. He just found us on his FYP and jumped in. That was fun.
He was actually in the chat for this one, Lars.
What's up, dude?
Yeah, we're a fan of you, Lars.
Yeah.
I have a workshop on working with ChatGPT that I'm giving in 14 minutes. So I'm going to bounce and remind people that I do workshops. So if you want to join for like deeper dives into using ChatGPT, especially in fundraising, come join us at Empowered Fundraiser sometime. We're around.
Okay, I'm going to play us out with some chill, lo-fi music, AI music. Let's see what happens.
Oh, nice, Hunter. We're always leveling up.
Yeah. And here we go. We can switch our background now. And let me switch it, and boom. And we'll see y'all on the next one.
See you later.
Bye, everybody.